Last time on The Mirage of Glamour, Leela continued to live her socialite lifestyle, attending parties and snapping photos for her social media. Despite her glamorous facade, she was becoming increasingly tired and weak after her visits with Mr. Thompson. She tried to ignore it, attributing it to the stress of maintaining her lifestyle. With a cook and housekeeper, she hoped focusing on proper nutrition might help her get well. "Now that we're all caught up, let's continue." Mr. Richards nodded but looked concerned. He walked away, leaving Leela feeling uneasy. She spent the rest of the night trying to enjoy herself, but the encounter had shaken her. Leela noticed that many of her former clients had stopped calling her. She tried to ignore the growing feeling of loneliness and focused on her relationship with Mr. Thompson. He continued to pay her large sums of money, and she continued to post pictures of her glamorous life on social media. But the excitement of her double life was wearing off. Leela felt increasingly isolated and disconnected from the world. She missed having real friends and genuine connections. But she told herself it was a small price to pay for the life she had always dreamed of. Leela's health had taken a sharp turn for the worse. Desperate for help, she decided to reach out to Mr. Thompson, the rich man who had been paying her large sums of money. Maybe he could help with her medical bills and get her the treatment she desperately needed. She made her way to the address where Mr. Thompson's mansion stood, a place she had visited many times. But when she arrived, she was met with an empty lot. Confused, Leela walked around, certain she had made a mistake. "Excuse me," she asked a passerby. "Wasn't there a mansion here?" The woman shook her head. "No mansion, just an old two-bedroom board house. The man who lived there moved it a couple of months ago. Haven't seen him since." Leela's heart sank. "Are you sure? There was a huge mansion here, with expensive cars and—" The woman looked at her with pity. "I'm sure. Only that small house was here. Nothing like what you're describing." Leela couldn't believe it. She stormed off, asking a few more people on the street. Each one gave her the same answer. There was no mansion, just the old board house that had been moved away. Realization hit Leela like a ton of bricks. She had been caught up in something strange and suspicious. She called Mr. Thompson's number several times, but it was no longer in service. Standing in the street, she wept. "What have I done to myself?" Overwhelmed by fear and confusion, panic sets in. Leela hurried home to plan her next move. She knew she had to find out what had really happened and, more importantly, find a way to get the help she needed before it was too late. Leela's health continued to decline. She woke up with severe stomachaches and headaches. She visited several doctors, but none could explain what was wrong with her. She spent a significant amount of money on medical tests and treatments, but nothing seemed to help. Her body started to break out in sores, and she became more frail and weak. Her housekeeper quit after working for a month without pay, leaving Leela to fend for herself. Desperate and alone, Leela tried reaching out to some of her former clients for help. But their responses were cold and dismissive. Many of them were now married or in serious relationships and wanted nothing to do with her. Feeling utterly hopeless, Leela decided to return to her hometown, hoping her family would take her back. She scraped together the little money she had left and took a taxi back to the small village. When Leela arrived in her hometown, she found that her family had moved away. Her younger sister, Emily, had gotten an opportunity to work overseas, and after settling in, she sent for their parents. The small house was now rented out to another family. Leela wandered the village, hoping to find someone who would help her. But everyone remembered how rude and disrespectful she had been and turned her away. She ended up sleeping on the side of the street, feeling more alone and desperate than ever. As Leela sat on the curb, crying, she heard a voice. "Leela, is that you?" She looked up and saw Desmond, a boy she had ridiculed in her teenage years because he was poor. Despite her initial shame, Leela nodded. "Yes, it's me." Desmond offered her a hand. "Do you need help?" Leela hesitated but finally accepted. Desmond took her to the hospital and stayed with her, paying for all her bills. But despite the treatments, Leela's condition worsened. Leela became thinner and more frail with each passing day. She knew her time was running out. Desmond stayed by her side, offering her the kindness and support she had never shown him. Leela lay in her hospital bed, her frail body fighting against a sickness that seemed to consume her from within. One night, as she drifted in and out of a fitful sleep, she found herself in a dream unlike any she had experienced before. In her dream, she was transported to a small wooden house nestled deep within a dense forest. The air was thick with the stench of decaying flesh, and Leela gagged as she covered her nose. She cautiously peered around and saw many young, beautiful women lying close to a dark pit, their bodies frail and thin. Terrified, Leela tried to sneak away, but in her haste, she rustled some leaves, alerting the owner of the house. Before she could escape, she was captured by an old man and dragged back to the decrepit house. The old man laughed maniacally as Leela pleaded for mercy. "Please, don't hurt me. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." But the old man continued to laugh, his laughter echoing through the forest. Suddenly, he transformed before her eyes, becoming the rich man she had known for the past 2 years. Leela's shock and confusion paralyzed her as he spoke. "You foolish girl," he sneered. "Your greed has led you to your doom. You spent my cursed money recklessly, and now it's time for you to pay." Leela screamed in terror, begging him to spare her life. But he ignored her pleas, grabbing her and throwing her into the dark pit in the middle of his house. Leela jolted awake in her hospital bed, her heart racing and tears streaming down her face. The nurses rushed in, alarmed by her cries. They comforted her as best they could, but Leela couldn't shake the horror of the dream. Desperate for comfort, Leela asked to speak with Desmond. He arrived quickly, concern etched on his face as he listened to her recount the nightmare. Desmond was shaken by Leela's story. "It was just a dream, Leela," he said softly, trying to reassure her. But Leela insisted it wasn't just a dream, Leela expressed. Desmond's expression darkened. "We need to pray, Leela. We need to ask God for protection and forgiveness." Leela nodded tearfully, her heart heavy with guilt and fear. Desmond promised to bring his pastor to see her the following day. The next morning, as Desmond prepared to visit Leela in the hospital, he stopped by his pastor's office to share the details of Leela's haunting dream. The pastor's face grew grave as he listened. "The blood of Jesus," the pastor muttered, his voice urgent. Desmond was taken aback. "Pastor, what's wrong?" The pastor explained. Leela's dream was not just a dream. It was a revelation. She made a pact with evil, spending cursed money that now seeks to claim her soul. "We must go to her immediately. There's no time to waste." Desmond's heart raced as they rushed to the hospital. But their journey was hindered by an unexpected accident on the highway, causing a significant delay. The pastor prayed fervently, sensing the spiritual battle at hand. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, they arrived at the hospital. However, they were met with devastating news. The nurse informed them that Leela had passed away just minutes ago, peacefully in her sleep. Desmond collapsed in grief, tears streaming down his face. The pastor held him and prayed silently, asking for God's comfort and mercy for Leela's soul. In her final moments, Leela had sung worship songs and surrendered her life to God. One of the nurses had held her hand as she poured out her heart in prayer, finding solace and peace in her faith. With tears in her eyes, Leela had drifted off to sleep and never woke up again. Desmond and the pastor stood in the hospital corridor, hearts heavy with sorrow. They knew that despite Leela's tragic end, she had asked for forgiveness from God. In her final moments, Leela reflected on her life and the choices she had made. She realized that in her pursuit of fame and glamour, she had lost sight of what truly mattered: love, family, and genuine connections. Leela passed away without seeing her family again, the letter she left them, which devastated their life when she left town without saying goodbye. Desmond mourned her loss, saddened by the wasted potential and the pain she had endured. He arranged for her burial, ensuring she was laid to rest with dignity. The news of Leela's death reached her family in their new home overseas. Her mother, Yvonne, her father, Roy, and her younger sister, Emily, were devastated. They had always hoped Leela would find her way back to them, leaving behind the illusions of her online life. Leela's mother Yvonne stood by the bedroom window, her eyes red from crying. "My beautiful child, what have you done to yourself?" she whispered, her voice breaking. "Oh, I wish you had been content with yourself and not chased a fantasy. May your beautiful soul rest in peace." Roy sat in the living room, staring at a photo of Leela from happier times. He remembered how he and Yvonne had tried to guide her, to make her see the value of their humble life. "We did everything we could," he said softly, tears in his eyes. "We did everything we could." Emily, who had always looked up to her older sister, was inconsolable. She remembered the days when Leela would help her with homework and share stories of her dreams. "I miss you, Leela," she sobbed. "I wish you had listened to us. We just wanted you to be happy." The family decided to return to their old community to visit Leela's grave and say their final goodbyes. The journey was somber, each mile filled with memories of Leela and what might have been. When they arrived, they went straight to the small cemetery where Leela was buried. The grave was simple, adorned with fresh flowers from friends and former neighbors who had learned of her passing. Miss Yvonne knelt by the grave, her fingers tracing Leela's name on the headstone. "Leela, my darling, I hope you're in a better place now. I pray that your soul finds peace." Roy placed a bouquet of lilies next to the headstone. "We love you, Leela. We always have. Rest well, my child." Emily stood silently, tears streaming down her face. She whispered, "Goodbye, Leela. I hope you finally find the happiness you were searching for." As they stood by the grave, they reflected on Leela's life and the choices she had made. They wished they could have done more to save her from the path she had taken, but they knew they had to find a way to forgive themselves and each other. The family made their way back to their old house, now rented out to another family. Yvonne stood in front of the small home, memories flooding back. "This was where we were happy, where we were a family," she said softly. "This was where we were happy, where we were a family." Before leaving the community, they visited Desmond to express their gratitude for his kindness towards Leela in her final days. Despite all the humiliation she had poured on him in the past, Desmond had stood by her when she needed someone the most. "Desmond," Roy began, "we can't thank you enough for what you did for Leela. Even after everything, you were there for her." Yvonne nodded, tears in her eyes. "You showed her kindness and compassion when she was alone. We promised to help you scale up your business. You are a good man, and we appreciate your kindness." Desmond shook his head, humbled by their words. "It wasn't an issue. I don't pay back evil with evil. I was happy to be of help to her since she was alone. She deserved that much, at least." As they prepared to leave, they knew they had made an important connection with Desmond. Their promise to support him in his business was not just a gesture of gratitude, but a way to honor Leela's memory by fostering goodness and compassion in the world. And so, with heavy hearts and a renewed sense of purpose, they returned to their new home, carrying with them the bittersweet memories of a daughter and sister who had chased a dream, only to find that true happiness could not be found in illusions. They hoped that, in death, she had found the peace that had eluded her in life. After Leela's family returned back to the States, Emily sat quietly in her room, reflecting on the immense sacrifices her parents had made over the years. Unlike her elder sister Leela, who had always resented their modest lifestyle, Emily understood the depth of their dedication and love. Her parents could have chosen to upgrade their dilapidated house or indulge in luxuries, but they didn't. Instead, they juggled multiple jobs, working tirelessly to ensure their daughters had a brighter future. The roof over their heads, the food on their table, and the unwavering love they shared were all results of her parents' selfless sacrifices. They dreamed of a better life for their children, saving diligently to send Leela abroad for her education, with hopes that she would return with a degree, secure a good job, and help further Emily's education. However, Leela's obsession with maintaining a lavish online persona led her to despise their humble existence. She squandered money on a pretentious lifestyle, blinded by the allure of social media popularity. In the end, this fast-paced, fabricated life couldn't save her from an untimely demise. As Emily whispered, "Oh my dear sister, may you find peace, I will miss you," she vowed to honor their parents' sacrifices and cherish the love and lessons they had imparted. Desmond often visited Leela's grave, reflecting on the lessons her life had taught him. He remembered the first time he saw her, back in their teenage years, and how he had loved her ever since. Her beautiful smile, so full of life, was now a bittersweet memory. It pained him deeply to think of how her life was wasted, consumed by a quest for superficial validation. Standing by her grave, he vowed to live his life differently. He promised to embrace kindness and compassion, to cherish the simple, genuine moments, and to value the things that truly mattered. In honoring her memory, he committed to a life of authenticity and gratitude, determined not to let her lessons go in vain. Leela's tragic story teaches us the dangers of living a fake life influenced by social media's illusions and the pursuit of fast money. Her obsession with portraying a glamorous lifestyle led her down a path of self-destruction, highlighting the importance of contentment, hard work, and integrity. True success comes from dedication and perseverance, not shortcuts. We must resist the temptation to be envious of social media's glitz and glamour, for the life we covet might be a nightmare in reality for the person behind the posts. Often, we don't know the true source of someone's success and fortune. Leela's intuition had told her something was wrong after the first visit with Mr. Thompson, but her quest to be among the elites and make her mark on social media blinded her to any sense of reasoning. Cherishing family and genuine support systems is crucial, as turning away from those who care for us can lead to isolation in times of need. Ultimately, Leela's life underscores the value of appreciating what we have and staying true to our values. Her story is a powerful reminder that the glittering facades we see online often hide deep struggles and that true fulfillment lies in authenticity, gratitude, and the loving connections we build with those who truly care for us. If you enjoyed Leela's story and the lessons it holds, please share your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel to stay updated and ensure you don't miss any of our future uploads. Thank you for your support.